The cameras flashed. The crowd froze. And just like that, Hollywood had a new obsession. Or maybe more like a massive billion-dollar question.
Right, a question that totally defies how the entertainment industry usually works.
Exactly. You are listening to Starscope Report. Join Jordan and Jamie as they uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and viral influencer scandals. From red carpet surprises to social media controversies, we dive deep into the stories behind the fame.
And today, we're doing a deep dive into a headline that has been absolutely everywhere.
Yeah, the headline being, why Tom Holland is making this major sacrifice for Zendaya.
It's basically the headline of the year.
It really is. I mean, imagine being half of a couple that just generated over $1 billion at the global box office in a single week. You are at the absolute peak of cultural relevance. Your face is plastered on billboards in, every major city on Earth.
Your publicist is probably drowning in offers for the next decade of your life.
Right. And in that exact moment of supreme, untouchable leverage, your first instinct is to ask, how quickly can I become a stay-at-home dad?
It genuinely defies the established physics of the entertainment industry. I mean, the unwritten rule of Hollywood, and really of any high-stakes career, is that you never willingly give up your real estate at the top of the mountain.
You hoard it.
Exactly. You hoard the spotlight because the industry dictates this massive scarcity mindset. If you aren't visible, you disappear.
So the mission of this deep dive isn't just to rehash celebrity gossip. We're here to dismantle that specific word sacrifice. We want to figure out the actual psychological mechanics of why someone walks away from infinite attention.
And how a couple survives the crushing weight of global scrutiny.
We have a ton of sources to unpack today. We're looking at the current wave of entertainment reports from August 2026, from outlets like Reality T, Hungama Express, and Radar Online.
But to understand the why behind those reports, we have to trace his behavior back to a vital 2023 Guardian article that detailed Tom's hidden struggles.
Yeah, and to fully grasp the threat they are protecting themselves against, we're even going to examine the sheer unfiltered chaos of the internet's attention economy. We're using a seemingly random viral Facebook post about Donald Trump's hair to do that.
Which sounds crazy, but it perfectly illustrates the ecosystem they live in.
It totally does.
Okay.
And I want you, the listener, to keep a question in the back of your mind as we go through this. Where in your own life are you fighting to stay visible or, chasing a promotion or a status symbol that might actually be eroding your peace?
That is the big question.
So to figure out how Tom Holland arrived at this mindset, we have to look at the foundation. He didn't just wake up in 2026 completely immune to the ego of Hollywood.
No, not at all. That immunity was forged during a severe personal crisis a few years ago. The timeline is critical here.
Right.
If you look at that July 2023 piece from The Guardian, which covered his appearance on the On Purpose with Jay Shetty podcast, you really see the blueprint for his current life.
He opened up about the Christmas season of 2021, right?
Yeah, exactly. He described that Christmas as, quote, very, very boozy. And following that, he attempted a standard dry January.
Which, feels like a pretty universal experience. Millions of people do dry January to just reset after the holidays.
Totally.
But for him, it wasn't just a physical detox. It triggered this terrifying psychological realization.
Because he discovered that for that entire month, the only thing occupying his mind was having a drink.
It terrified him to the point where he admitted he was, quote, enslaved to alcohol.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And what stands out in that interview isn't just the admission of dependency, but his intense analysis of the environment enabling it.
He realized he couldn't isolate the addiction from his culture.
Right. He specifically called out the English pub culture.
Yeah.
He noted how socializing is fundamentally built around drinking. He felt like he was incapable of just going to a pub and ordering a lime soda. The environment itself was the trigger.
I want to pause on that for a second because walking away from your culture is incredibly difficult. He talked about having to actively distance himself from his rugby community.
Because that specific group of friends operated entirely on a currency of, how much can you drink?
Yeah, that isn't just changing a habit. That is a surgical removal of your social support system.
And doing that requires a brutal level of self-interrogation. He started asking himself, why am I so obsessed with this drink?
And by forcing himself to sever those environmental triggers, he started hitting real milestones. Like by his 26th birthday, which was June 1st, 2022, he was 5 months sober.
The physical and mental payout he described was massive. He talked about better sleep, sharper mental clarity, and just a radically improved capacity to handle stress.
He specifically leaned on that newfound clarity during the grueling shoot for the Apple TV series, The Crowded Room.
Oh, That show was intense.
So intense.
Yeah.
That project was so taxing, he actually took a break from acting afterward, but the sobriety held firm.
Sure.
He called that period the happiest I've ever been.
And it even created a ripple effect, right?
Yeah, his own mother followed his lead and got sober too.
That is amazing. You know, if we pull back and look at the mechanism of fame here, alcohol often functions as a necessary anesthetic.
Right.
When you are perceived by millions of people daily, your nervous system is just in a constant state of hypervigilance. The pressure is boiling. So numbing that anxiety is literally a survival tactic.
By removing the alcohol, Tom forced himself to face the reality of his environment without a buffer. He essentially realized that if an environment is toxic, whether it's a pub full of rugby friends or the relentless machinery of Hollywood, you cannot just exist in it and hope to survive.
You have to physically remove yourself.
Exactly. He proved to himself in 2022 that he could walk away from a normalized cultural expectation, survive the social fallout, and actually end up happier.
And that is the exact psychological muscle he is flexing today.
Yes. Which brings us directly to the narrative dominating the media right now in August 2026.
Right. Outlets like Radar Online and Reality Tea are just hyper-focused on this idea that Tom is making a monumental career shift to accommodate Zendaya's trajectory.
And the terminology the press uses is so revealing. Every headline leans on the word sacrifice.
Always sacrifice.
According to these insider sources, Tom is completely unfazed by Zendaya's escalating fame. He reportedly has, quote, no ego about letting her be the biggest star in the family.
Well, the logic those sources provide is purely pragmatic. Zendaya navigates the blinding center of the spotlight with a natural comfort that Tom simply doesn't share.
Yeah, he recognizes her singular star power.
Exactly. And they have seemingly agreed that if one of them is going to operate the relentless machinery of back-to-back blockbusters, she is the one equipped to do it.
There's a specific quote from these reports that completely reframes the typical Hollywood relationship. They aren't trying to build two separate careers. They're consciously building one life together.
Which is such a healthy way to look at it.
It really is. And it extends to the point where, according to Hungama Express, Tom is reportedly eager to embrace being a stay-at-home dad when they eventually have children.
But you mentioned earlier that you have a real issue with the media coding this as a sacrifice.
Oh, I totally do. I mean, I look at a guy who has anchored a billion-dollar franchise, achieved absolute financial independence, and secured a permanent place in pop culture history.
Right.
Willingly stepping back to let your powerhouse partner dominate the industry isn't a sacrifice. It is the ultimate display of self-awareness and, frankly, unshakable masculine security.
That's a really good point.
A sacrifice implies a painful loss. This just looks like a highly strategic upgrade in his quality of life.
I completely agree. And the fact that the media interprets it as a loss exposes our rigid cultural expectations around ambition and gender.
Oh, 100%.
Historically, the Hollywood ecosystem demands that a traditional male leading man be the center of gravity in his relationships. When a female partner begins to outshine him, the typical result is professional jealousy and relationship collapse.
It's the classic A star is born trope.
Exactly. The fragility of the male ego usually cannot handle being the supporting character in someone else's real-life ascent.
Because their entire identity is tied to being the most important person in the room. But because Tom did that grueling internal work back in 2021 and 2022, he completely decoupled his self-worth from external validation.
He already faces demons. He already knows the spotlight doesn't cure anxiety.
Precisely. And this philosophy of building one life together while aggressively protecting their peace culminated in an event that, frankly, seems logistically impossible in the modern era.
Their secret wedding.
Yes. But before we get into the wild top-secret details of how they pulled off the celebrity wedding of the decade right under our noses, and that is not even the wildest part of the story, if you're loving these Hollywood twists, make sure you're subscribed.
Seriously, hit subscribe because we've got even crazier stories ahead in this deep dive.
So to understand the sheer scale of this magic trick, we have to map out exactly what was happening in the world at the exact moment they got married.
Right.
July of this year was an absolute media hurricane for both of them.
You had the back-to-back releases of two global juggernauts. Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey dropped on July 17th.
Which is massive.
Huge. Then just 2 weeks later, Marvel's Spider-Man. Brand New Day hit theaters on July 31st.
And the new Spider-Man grossed $1.155 billion worldwide in its first week.
Which is just, $1 billion in 7 days is staggering.
Meanwhile, Zendaya and her stylist, Law Roach, were orchestrating a masterclass in method dressing on every single red carpet. They were generating a separate tsunami of fashion press.
You could not log onto the internet, turn on a television, or walk past a newsstand without seeing their faces. They were at the absolute zenith of global visibility.
And right in the middle of that blinding exposure, they just slipped away to Kingston, England.
Tom's hometown.
Yep. And they pulled off a deeply private wedding at the Beaverbrook Hotel. According to Extra TV, it was this 370-acre estate with a natural theme.
And Tom's brothers were there, right?
Yeah, Sam, Harry, and Patty all stayed at the cottages on the property, and they reportedly utilized Mark Seed, the same event planner, who managed Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's wedding.
Oh, wow. So they brought in the heavy hitters.
They had to. But how do you actually execute that? How do you move families, caterers, and A-list celebrities into a countryside hotel without a single drone catching a photo or a single staff member leaking it to the tabloids?
It requires weaponizing your resources to enforce physical boundaries. You use non-disclosure agreements, compartmentalized planning, and likely decoy events to keep the paparazzi looking in the wrong direction.
It's like a military operation.
It really is. But the real triumph isn't just the physical secrecy, it's how they manage the narrative after the fact.
Tom's handling of it was brilliant. During a June interview with Esquire, the interviewer tried to bait him by asking if he had to warn his family about all the AI-generated fake wedding photos circulating online.
Oh, that's such a trap.
Total trap. But instead of getting defensive or, issuing some stiff PR statement, Tom just slyly replied, quote, "No, because they were all there."
That is so good.
Right. He confirmed the marriage, validated the reality of the event, and offered absolutely zero usable details.
That approach aligns perfectly with Zendaya's philosophy on fame. She actually articulated this in an incredibly thoughtful interview with the New York Times.
Yes. She brought up the concept of parasocial investment. Let's explore the mechanics of that, because the way she framed it is vital for anyone trying to navigate an online audience today.
Well, a parasocial relationship is basically a one-sided psychological bond. It's where an audience member feels genuine intimacy with a public figure who doesn't even know they exist.
Yeah, and Zendaya pointed out that a massive segment of their audience literally watched them grow up on screen.
Exactly. They watch their characters, Peter Parker and MJ, fall in love, and then they watch the actors fall in love in real life. That completely blurs the lines of reality for an audience.
What I found remarkable is that she didn't condemn the fans for that. She validated their curiosity. She acknowledged that their investment is real and comes from a place of affection.
But, and this is the crucial boundary, she stated that despite understanding that affection, she absolutely must keep things for herself and for him.
It is a profound display of emotional intelligence.
It really is. They aren't going to war with their fandom, which would only breed resentment. Instead, they are acknowledging the fans' feelings while drawing an impenetrable, non-negotiable line around their intimacy.
And when you look at the reality of the digital ecosystem today, you realize why that impenetrable line isn't just a preference.
No, it is a vital survival mechanism.
Because the internet's attention economy is not rational. It is chaotic, obsessive, and it strips context from literally everything it touches just to generate engagement.
It's an ecosystem built on dissection. The algorithms reward endless microscopic scrutiny.
So to prove exactly how bizarre and invasive that scrutiny can get, we dug into a source that seems entirely disconnected from Hollywood.
But it perfectly illustrates the threat Tom and Zendaya are hiding from.
Right. We looked at a mandatory Facebook post from January 7th of this year. Now, just to be clear, we are not taking any political sides here. We are just impartially reporting on the content provided as a raw case study of internet behavior.
Right. It is the ultimate case study in how the digital hive mind operates.
The post was centered on Donald Trump. Specifically, a photograph where the lighting or the camera quality made his hair appear to have a faint pink tint.
And within hours, the internet completely hijacked the image.
Completely. Users were dubbing him Barbie. The political context evaporated, and the entire global conversation funneled into a hyperfixation on a minor optical illusion.
You see thousands of people engaging in genuine, heated debates over a handful of pixels.
I looked through the comment section, and it is fascinating. You have everyday users, like a commenter named Alan James Marsh, intensely analyzing the photos. He literally questioned, quote, whose hair it really is.
They were treating a random lighting glitch like the Zapruder film.
Yes. And this is the underlying engine of the attention economy. It requires constant fuel, and it will strip mine any available image to manufacture a controversy or a joke.
Now, take that exact mechanism, that rabid forensic dissection of a politician's hair color on a random Tuesday, and aim it at the private wedding of a young billion-dollar box office couple.
Oh, it would be a feeding frenzy.
If Tom and Zendaya had allowed a single camera into the Beaverbrook Hotel, the internet wouldn't have just celebrated it, they would have consumed it.
Every single detail would be commodified. The internet would dissect the cost of the floral arrangements, analyze the body language of the guests in the background, debate the tailoring of the dress, and project infinite narratives onto their vows.
The intimacy of the moment would be entirely hollowed out and replaced by whatever narrative generated the most clicks.
And that is the cage Tom Holland realized he was in. He looked at the cultural expectation of endless visibility, he looked at an internet that dissects pixels for sport, and he applied the exact same survival tactic he used to get sober in 2022.
He walked away from the toxic environment.
Exactly. His sacrifice isn't a loss at all. It is a strategic retreat from a culture that destroys what it worships.
And he is fortunate enough to have a partner in Zendaya who fully comprehends that dynamic.
Absolutely.
She is equipped to navigate the blinding heat of the spotlight, absorbing the professional momentum, which allows him to step back and safeguard the actual foundation of their one life together in the shadows.
They have essentially divided the labor of fame to protect their humanity, which is brilliant.
It really is.
Stay tuned and make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already so you don't miss what's coming next on Starscope Report.
Because the way celebrities are navigating this new era is only going to get more extreme.
Which brings this entire deep dive back to you listening right now. We're living in a culture that insists visibility is the ultimate metric of success.
Oh, constantly.
We are told to build personal brands, to constantly update our networks, to climb the corporate ladder until we reach the absolute peak, regardless of the altitude sickness.
The societal pressure dictates that if you have an audience, you must perform for them. If you have momentum, you must accelerate.
But I want you to evaluate the mountaintop you are currently climbing. Are you chasing a promotion, a title, or a specific level of recognition that is actively costing you your inner peace?
What environments or expectations do you need to actively distance yourself from, even if it confuses the people around you?
Because sometimes the most radical and necessary choice you can make is to define your own parameters of enough. What could you willingly step back from to build a stronger, more unified life with the people you actually love?
Maybe the goal isn't planting your flag at the absolute highest peak.
It requires unlearning a lot of what we are taught about ambition. So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to mull over.
Let's hear it.
In an era where literally everyone is desperately seeking attention online, fighting for clicks, views, and digital relevance, perhaps the ultimate status symbol isn't being the biggest, most visible star in the room.
Wow.
Perhaps true luxury, the rarest and most valuable thing you can possibly possess today, is having the freedom, the security, and the profound self-awareness to willingly walk away from the spotlight altogether. You don't have to stay on the mountain. You can just go home.
That is a powerful place to leave it.
You've been listening to Starscope Report, where Jordan and Jamie uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.